caught up with it.
Yeah.
September 10th, 2013. This meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission is hereby called to order under authority of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Town of Raleigh's Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. I'll now call the roll for attendance. Dave Delmonico.
Here.
Bob Garner.
Here.
Jude Keys is absent. Sam Strife is currently absent. Kurt Turner.
Here.
Doug Watson.
Present.
Chairing, and we have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Now what do we have for administrative?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I have a number of things that hopefully the commission will devote their attention to and possibly review and approve this evening. Starting off with reimbursement request for yours truly for some expenditures for needed office supplies. And
Label
cell
tape,
phone
the
allowance.
USB drive and cell phone.
And if you could review and initial, those are the invoices to support that. Should be 3 there. And a second request. This
All right.
is for postal expenses utilizing the notice of intent monies for communications specifically dealing with permit delivery under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Over here from the personnel bureau.
No, that just got submitted. So I do have that to just mention here. And Doug, here's the backup invoice for that particular.
Oh, postage expense.
Kurt? Thank you. Thank you very much. And then in no particular order, except this is how I stuck them in the folder. Doug, I hadn't heard back in
Okay.
regards to my vacation
Oh, really?
request for the
Sorry.
afternoon of September 12th for the full day of Wednesday, September 19th. Why isn't that Thursday?
It is.
It should be Thursday, it should.
It's Thursday.
Yeah, yeah, so for September 19th and Monday, September 23rd, so I can have a long weekend.
That's fine. I just apologize for missing your
That's okay.
email.
Could you just possibly say you dug okay or something?
Yeah.
Let's see. And I also think I did not respond to your request, unless I did it and I didn't even know I did, which would be even more distressing. To your request for a signature on the request for the selectmen's
Oh.
request for the
Okay.
NOI money thing, you know which one I mean.
Yes, I do.
You needed a signature, I don't think I got back to you. Adam.
Yes, I'm requesting a signature and just to copy to all the commissioners in attendance periodically following what had been some kind of tradition on the commission's part to utilize $3,000 increments for the request in authorization from the selectmen for the expenditure of those dedicated funds, which can only be used for the administration and enforcement of Wetlands Protection Act activities.
Yes, and this is something we've done several years now in a row. Pretty much.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. When I came on board, I discovered that one did not need to put articles on the town warrant in order to authorize the expenditure of these funds, and the commission has efficiently utilized those monies for such things as acquisition of the pictometry, which is utilized in almost every single wetlands protection activity, and well as enforcement activities, as well as, and then this particular utilization is mostly for training that's directly connected to the administration and enforcement of the Wetlands Protection Act, as well as postage for, again, delivery of permits or enforcement orders or whatever, which usually is, by the regulations, is required to be certified return receipt mail. So that's usually $6 at minimum a piece. So
How much money is in that fund?
approximately $36,000 at this point.
It's held right around that number lately. Right? We take in about as much as we spend now.
Well, actually, we haven't had a slate of a lot of permanent activity.
Right.
But we also have judiciously utilized that money and haven't had to mount any legal defenses or the hiring of experts for
Right.
prosecution of enforcement matters under the Wetlands Protection Act either. So that also helps those monies stay relatively balanced as opposed to being depleted. Yeah, so the other FYI is that due to various conflicts with my wife's schedule and my schedule here, I haven't been able to utilize my vacation time in as quick a manner as I had hoped to. And so I tendered a request to the Personnel Board because I had 60 hours. If your request exceeds 40 hours, you need to make it directly to the Personnel Board as opposed to the Personnel Officer who can authorize it.
Request for what? I'm sorry.
Carryover
Oh, carryover
vacation
request.
time.
Yeah,
My
okay.
anniversary date
That's
is
what I thought you meant.
September 28th.
I just didn't hear the word carryover.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's what I thought you were talking about, exactly.
Who's the personnel officer?
Deborah Egan.
Debbie.
Who's on the board? That
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe Dave Peterson, Robert Snow, and a gentleman whose name from the FinCon committee, who I can't remember instantaneously.
Okay, thanks.
But according to the town website, there may be more people, depending on whether the town website is appropriately updated or not.
I see. Yeah.
We also received today notification that the 2013, okay, I guess I'm not the only one that sometimes forgets to delete things when they're cutting and pasting. This is the 2013 Fall-Spring Town Special, Fall-Spring Special Town Meeting. I think they mean fall. Is open. Please be advised that the Board of Selectmen has opened the November 4th, 2013 special town meeting warrant. The special town meeting warrant closes at noontime, Monday, September 30th at 4 p.m. Please send me your articles on or before that time. Articles must contain the signature and date of the submitting party. If you have any questions, please contact me, Deborah Egan, at 948-2705. And then I realized I didn't have the time to consult with you earlier, but it was suggested that you might consider reading that for the cable television
Yes.
audience, and that will be reposted and re-noticed through both cable as well as on the selectmen's announcements and announcements at Town Hall. It apparently fell off that we had a vacancy on our board.
So this is a notice of a Conservation Commission vacancy. The Board of Selectmen hereby gives notice that a vacancy exists on the Conservation Commission. Conservation Commission is responsible for implementing Wetlands Protection Act and Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection bylaws. The commission meets on Tuesday evenings every 3 weeks. Appointee must be a registered voter in the Town of Raleigh. For more information, please go to the Conservation Commission page on the Town of Raleigh website at www.townofraleigh.net or call the Conservation Commission office at 978-948-2330. Please send a letter of interest and resume to the Board of Selectmen, P.O. Box 275, Raleigh, Mass. 01969. That's P.O. Box 275, Raleigh, Mass. 01969. Or via email at selectmen@townofraleigh.org. Well, it says July 1st, 2013, but I think you can keep doing it because we have not yet filled the position.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's open.
it is open.
This was posted on the bulletin board in the hall here, so I grabbed it.
You too can be on TV every Tuesday.
Every third.
Every third Tuesday, yeah.
And finally, this is just for distribution. This is a draft of the proposed meeting schedule for 2014.
You are organized.
Just to give everyone ample opportunity to possibly review that. Jean Blanchard, our senior assistant, and myself worked on this today, and we believe we identified or avoided any conflicts with town elections. We can't avoid town meeting dates next year because they haven't been set yet. We did also avoid the primary in September and the election in November.
Okay.
This year or next?
And this is next year's schedule, 2014.
You also avoided Veterans Day in there? November 12th?
Yeah, shifted, I believe, one meeting
Monday.
got shifted to do that.
Yeah.
To Wednesday. So
Okay.
if you folks could review, and if it looks okay, maybe at next meeting we could approve it, or whatever. I mean, there's no real rush on it, I just
Yep.
wanted to get it out there.
Let's see. So this is the 745 item. In accordance with, it leaves the legal notice of the Raleigh Conservation Commission in accordance with Town of Raleigh Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. As amended, a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, September 10, 2013 at 7:45 p.m. at Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, to consider a stormwater management permit application filed by 420 Newburyport Turnpike LLC for proposed construction of 2 commercial building additions, stormwater facilities, utilities, and grading, all at 420 Newburyport Turnpike and 340 Weathersfield Street, map 18, parcel lot 3-1 and 5-21-1B in Raleigh. Mr. Ware. Welcome.
For the record, Charlie Ware, Meridian Associates.
We're pretty familiar with this
Yeah, and I
project by this point. Yeah.
provided the public notice documents to Brent, and as you mentioned, I think actually the description that you just read was pretty descriptive of the project. What we've done as part of the application is we submitted SWIP, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. I know Brent has had the opportunity to review that. It's really it's the same document that establishes that we meet the requirements of the NIPTES permit under the EPA's NIPTES permit, general permit. So it just puts the erosion control methods and procedures all under the same document essentially, so. I don't know if I have a whole lot to add other than that. Just questions about any about the project or the SWIP, if you have any entertain.
I'm recusing myself because of uncertainty as to whether I'm a butter under this situation. The application, the first page indicates that this property of Tom Trudeau was involved, which was bought out by
That's correct.
Sandy, and that property abuts me. Didn't used to, but didn't used to be in a butter with theirs, but now I think I am, so just to be in the safe side.
So it is, yeah, it is, the Trudeau property is part, is.
Right, that's right.
So you are,
Well, thank you.
Well,
for
we had an
being alert.
inability, I just found out about this, so I had an inability to actually research it to provide a definitive
That's
answer.
fine.
So since we still have a quorum
Yes.
remaining, we're going to defer on the side of being conservative and cautious.
You can still, as long as you had a quorum to start the meeting, you can, as far as I'm concerned, I think you still can vote on it, even if you didn't have a quorum.
No, you do. You need a quorum to act on each
I think so,
application.
yeah.
I think that's right.
I'm sure
But we have
rules
one.
are in favor.
Only
Wait a
just,
second.
because Sam walked in.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
I was actually kept a few extra minutes, but.
So I'm trying to remember if I had any stormwater-related questions when we saw this before. I don't remember any. Brent, do you have anything you want to bring to our attention? We haven't discussed
Well, both
before.
Commissioner Garner and I have reviewed the documentation that was provided to us well in advance of the meeting, and so we both had, I believe we both had an adequate amount of time to go through it, and did not find any conflicts or anything. And this project has been reviewed both through the planning board process and through the issuance of an order of conditions by the commission. So in that sense, it would have been a surprise to find something that at this point in time hadn't been
Well,
teased out or modified to meet compliance.
Well, the SWIP is a new document, so if there was something, it probably would have been in the SWIP. So.
All right, then. Any questions or comments by any commissioners?
None here.
All right, then, in that case, I think what I need is a motion to close the hearing and issue
Stormwater
management permit.
with
Yes.
conditions
Typical for a
of
commercial project of this type, yeah.
project.
Yeah, but it's a stormwater management permit is what they call it, right?
Yes, sir.
Still getting the terminology of this.
Me too.
So do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? We're all set. I think that's the last permit you need, right?
I think so. Now, could I inquire as to two things? Number one is when will the permit issue, number one? And number two, if there is an appeal period. I'm sure these are both.
There is an
questions.
appeal, there is an appeal period. So it's- Permit will be issued after I go and check the erosion control on site tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And come back to the office. I have full intentions of them sitting down and working on issuing the permit. Let's see, 14.
I appreciate you looking that up. I could have done that as well. I just know Sandy's going to ask me tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to go back to the office just to look up the appeal period.
Yeah, right.
Well, your office is in Beverly, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, you
And
definitely.
I live in Amesbury.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I think, aren't town issued bylaws only appealable to Superior Court
yeah.
within 60 days, isn't it, or something like that?
It's not 60. It's either 30 or 10.
30 or 10?
I mean, you proceed
it's
at your own
it's
risk. You
statutory.
can always proceed. Nobody's
Yeah.
Nobody's
There's
expressed an
there.
objection, so I think
Unless
it'd
there's
be-
somebody at home, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't say it won't happen, but I think it'd be highly unlikely.
Right, okay.
So, I'm sorry.
I know
don't-
he's ready to go.
He's ready to
He
go.
said he's got
Right, well, that's
road
why,
control, so-
yeah, I had a conversation. Mr. Patrick actually alerted me, when he had intentions of having the erosion control, he called me today and said, oh, by the way, have you been out? I said, well, I hadn't heard back from you that you actually got it installed for me to look at. So now that you've let me know, I'll be there tomorrow morning, first thing as I come on in. So.
All right, well, why don't you let him know the timeframe on the permit, and then he can pursue. Whatever.
Well, I told him the same thing. I told
Yeah.
him that as soon as I went out to the site, checked to make sure things were installed correctly, I was going to come back and work on actually issuing the document, and he reminded me to send it to him so he could take it down to record it.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Weir.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Joe. Brenda, if you could find me a reference on that, because you're the point. Emails you got me in picture committees.
Okay.
Did you have to have a quorum through
And
that?
that's in regards for quorum for each vote.
That's an absurd rule.
Well, I don't think it's absurd. I mean, ages and ages ago when I first started here, remember I worked up an attendance sheet in order to be able to verify that in fact we
Yeah,
had
because that was a new thing
continuing
at that point.
attendance on individual permit items for, the same people, so that we didn't get involved in, what is it, the Mullen situation?
Right,
where-
maybe the case escapes me, I think it's
Yeah,
Mullen.
yeah, I originally would have agreed with Kurt on the point of not needing the quorum, but then I thought about that, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
The problem is, right, if this, well, we only had one hearing on the stormwater permit, but if we had two, and it was a different quorum,
Yeah.
and there were not enough people in common, then you would not have a valid vote.
Right. What if you had
So-
4 people on the board with recusal conflicts? That in perpetuity prevents you from dealing with the thing?
I don't know what the answer to that question is.
That
That's where I come in.
I think that is
Yeah,
one of the
becomes an
reasons we have a
interesting
sizable
question.
board.
Yes,
So
I
this doesn't
actually,
happen.
well, let's see, okay. Now, I just had a conversation because actually, only because I live in the greater Lawrence, greater Haverhill area do I know about the continuing saga of the trials and tribulations of the city of Lawrence, where the current mayoral administration has been less than diligent or responsible in their appointing people to boards. And I happen to know the chairman of the Conservation Commission in Lawrence, who hasn't been reappointed, who has been serving due to the fact that you continue to serve until you're technically removed or someone's appointed in your spot. He only has one other commissioner with him who's actively appointed at this point in time, so it has a 2-member board, which is totally non-functional. And I happened to ask, talking to a DEP person, and I said, well, what happens in this situation? He says, well, technically, you turn in an application, the commission can't act, so after 21 days, you appeal it to DEP, and then DEP has to handle
Yeah.
it.
So,
Because of a failure to act,
Yeah.
because you can't
Might happen,
convene.
might
a
also
quorum.
happen in very small towns where there just aren't enough volunteer members. But that would be the same as a recusal, right? I mean, you just recuse yourself out of existence, the DEP is.
Well, I mean, if
eventually
you
gonna have
can't
to-
participate in the
Right.
hearing and therefore can't generate a quorum, then I believe it gets you into the same situation
Maybe,
where
you
you're
know,
unable to act. I can find out about that, though.
But this wasn't DEP,
What's that?
the stormwater.
This was a stormwater permit, so.
Yeah.
it's
Right.
This is
the
local.
same.
So who do you appeal it to, Superior Court? That sounds pretty.
That's pretty hefty, but, hey,
Yeah.
that may be it.
But I think that's the situation under the town's wetlands bylaw, is that the only place to appeal a permit under the wetlands bylaw is to go to.
But you know what would
Superior Court.
happen? If it got appealed to the Superior Court, the selectmen would have to pay the legal bill, and they would get around to appointing somebody.
Well, it's,
Well, if that was,
Yeah.
yeah, that ended up being.
And the
issue.
chances of 4 recusals on a 7-member board would be extremely low as long as everybody isn't from the same neighborhood.
which is a good reason not to appoint people.
Well, I would think that the selectmen.
Or they're not all contractors or realtors.
Yeah.
The selectmen could also appoint themselves as an emergency conservation committee addendum, and vote on it themselves.
They could, yeah, they could appoint themselves, they could just appoint themselves, vote, and then appoint somebody else to replace them. Yeah, sure, they have that authority. Huh.
So I guess we have it covered. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but we have the easy solution. We have 4 people here. All right. So this is the 8 o'clock item
45.
on the agenda. This is a legal notice of the Raleigh Conservation Commission in accordance with the Raleigh Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Bylaw as amended. 2 consecutive public hearings will be held on Tuesday, September 10th, 8 p.m. at the Town Hall Annex located at 39 Central Street to consider a stormwater management permit and notice of intent application filed by Artistic Landscapes LLC for proposed construction of a 6,500 square foot commercial building, associated parking, proposed sewage disposal system, stormwater management area, and utilities at 111 Newburyport Turnpike, map 14, parcel 17 in Raleigh, Mass. Hi, you must be here on that, okay.
Look, just, may
Yeah.
I just clarify, because this is unusual, and I hope I didn't overstep my bounds here. We have 2 permit applications. One, a notice of intent application under the Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the other, a stormwater management permit application under the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. I couldn't find anything that told me they had to be advertised separately. So I combined the ad so that the applicant wouldn't have to deal with 2 separate bills, again, because I couldn't find anything that said there was.
Yeah. I've
That,
always
you know.
thought that was just common sense, yeah.
Okay, well, I
think
you know me, I sometimes like to state the obvious when I'm doing something that's a little different than our normal.
I don't think we talked about it with this one, but I'm pretty sure you and I have talked about that before in some other context and decided that there's no reason not to do that. So, okay, so this is actually both the 8 o'clock item and the 8:15 item on the agenda. We're going to deal with them in that order technically, but a lot of the discussion, I think, is going to apply to both.
Right. There are 2 separate memos trying to,
Yep.
in some sense, separate this, but also talking about it. Now, Mr. Hurley, I received a phone call. His professional consultant, William Holt, is in Andover or North Andover, and apologizes, but is traveling to get here to talk to the commission. So Mr. Hurley may not have seen the 2 memos.
I saw them just before driving over.
Do you have them?
I do.
Oh, okay, because
Yeah.
I have printed out copies. I was going to say, if we
Do you,
possibly want to give everybody time to read those before Mr. Hurley's, I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, maybe Mr. Holt will show up.
He's on his way.
yeah, well, we
So-
can hold it too. We've opened the hearing, but we can just suspend until Mr. Holt gets here. If he's on his way, I'm sure he'll be here eventually.
Yeah.
We have other business, so,
You want to do that, or if there's any other discussions that, like I met with Billy earlier today about the comment on, there's no emergency shut-off depicted on the drainage plan. He's looking into getting a 12-inch steel, I think he said steel pipe, so that he can put in a 12-inch shut-off. So, and he will not have that answer tonight, but
Yep.
it will be modified to reflect that.
Well, yeah, there's a dual purpose to an opening hearing. Your opportunity to explain to the commission
Okay.
what your applications are for, what the project is about, then to introduce the 2 memos, because there's 2 different permits, and talk about some of the issues raised in those. It's not, there is no, well, I don't believe that the staff certainly doesn't expect things to be answered instantaneously tonight, and I will not presume to speak for the commissioners, but hopefully they have the same understanding too, that not everything will be answered definitively tonight, but But the idea, again, is to introduce the project, because nobody even knows what it is about yet, and then to, hopefully, I've identified some of the issues that we can work towards it addressing, or either just find out information, maybe they aren't a big concern.
Okay.
So what's your pleasure? Would you rather wait for Mr. Holt?
If you don't mind, we'll wait the.
I don't mind.
Okay,
We have
let's do that.
a few other matters we can take care of. The next matter, he's not here. Is he coming, Mr. DeCoulis? Haven't said one way or the other.
I think I forwarded to you,
You
Mr.
did.
Turner, the email that surprised me yesterday. He asked me to send him examples of an operations and maintenance plan for compliance with the stormwater report.
Okay.
So
let's, before we start discussing it, let's
Right.
just at least temporarily suspend the discussion of the 111 Newburyport Turnpike matter, see if Mr. Holt shows up, or when he shows up. And now, on that, your memo on the 830 item, the land off Daniels Road, Tompkins to Chardon's Trust, I think all your memo says is we really can't do anything until we have that, and we don't have it. And even if he brings it today, we haven't looked at it. So, but we haven't heard from him saying he's not coming.
Right.
Okay.
But so, I don't know, I have not heard other than that from Mr. DeCoulis, so I don't know whether he's coming to attend the meeting tonight.
Okay.
I have provided our rules for hiring consultants for peer review, as well as the one-page part of the submittal from Horsley and Witten with their fees, as well as their supplemental rate sheet, which I transmitted to Mr. DeCoulis and had a conversation with him. When I had the conversation with him about that supplemental rate sheet, he didn't raise any concerns about that, but he did question the site visit, or say he had a concern with our peer review consultant going to the site. You know, I honestly don't know where that's coming from. I haven't had again, because I don't know whether he's coming to attend tonight and whether that will be a topic of discussion, but my professional opinion is that if you're hiring a firm to advise you on a proposed project, obviously, in my review, I feel it's necessary to visit the site. I can't speak for Horsley and Witten, and
Yeah.
Horsley and Witten also can't say anything at this point in time because we haven't engaged their services. So,
Right.
so I don't know whether they consider that a core component of, you know, in other words, if they will feel that it is imperative for them to go see the site. I mean, I included it as a task that we were requesting them to do.
Right.
Mainly, like I said, just from my professional standpoint, in that I would find it hard to comment about a project just based on the plans without my ability to actually view the site and, you know, take a look at it.
Right. And they included a site visit, so.
Well, right, yes, but like I said, I specifically identified that in the request for proposal. I asked, you know, I
Yes, of
said
course.
that was a task that, because in my estimation, that's a needed part of any review of a project, is to look at the proposed site.
Apart from all that, their bid was substantially lower than the only other bid. So I don't understand why the applicant would want to spend that much more money. It was several $1,000s lower.
Well, he wasn't saying that he had any concerns about Horsley and Witten. He changed the concern to, oh, do they really need to go do this site visit?
Well, okay.
And,
All right. Well, if he comes, we can talk to him about it.
well, yes, with the understanding, of course, that it is the commission that is hiring this firm for
Right.
peer review, and it's up to the commission to task that firm with what they want accomplished. And, I mean, I realize that the applicant, you know, everybody has the right to express an opinion, but this is a service to the commission.
Right.
And so if you feel the same way I feel, and that is that part of the review should include a visit to the proposed site for the project, then you can just say, well, that's a necessary requirement. We believe that is a component of the peer review.
But regardless, we can't discuss it with him if he's not here. We don't know if he's going to be here, and it hasn't.
I had no indications, he never communicated with me that he wasn't.
Right,
attending.
and his time hasn't come yet. It's not 8:30 yet, so, and he's on the agenda for 8:30, so I think we need to wait at least, you know, somewhat past 8:30 before we conclude he's not coming. So that's, I think, all we can say about that one at this point.
There is an agenda item on here, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
The new request for a certificate of compliance
Sure.
for 870 Hazel
Yeah.
Street, the 9 o'clock item.
We're not expecting anyone to attend.
No, and in fact, I have an email that basically requests a continuance
Oh, okay.
because I identified.
Yeah, that's right.
I identified an issue with the sign that they had
Yeah,
installed.
yeah.
Not meeting the requirements of the issued permit.
Right.
And they felt they needed more time than to this date in order to make arrangements to
Okay.
get the,
Yeah, their sign failed the conservation agent leaning against the sign test.
well, I anticipated that it would, as well as the fact that the sign material
So that's
itself
why
was
you
that
leaned against it?
I didn't even have to lean against it.
I think in this case, it would have fallen down had you done so, and then where would we be?
It's on light-duty residential,
Yeah.
commercial
Yeah.
garden, painted metal fence stakes, and that's corrugated plastic.
Might last till January, but probably not.
Well, but also look at the height of it.
Yeah.
The first couple of snowfalls, it's going to be buried under snow if it is even still standing vertically upright, because it's right where, as they plow the entrance, the snow would get pushed up.
So let me just read this into the record. This is an email from James Connolly to the board, the commission, and he says, in his email, the date of this is September 3rd. I am working with the board on the new sign. I am requesting a postponement until the October meeting, Jim Connolly. So the next October meeting is October 1st. I presume that's what he wants.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to continue this to the October 1st meeting?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against, and the motion carries. Oh, yeah.
Well, I should be given a pat on the back for good intent in the signing. It's easily visible on the most surface.
It's certainly visible.
Even,
Nice and bright.
even if it won't last very long.
Yeah, I saw it, and I, in all honesty, thought it was temporary.
Yeah.
It appeared shortly after we finally had a visit, because I kind of asked them, you know, where are you guys with this project? Because I was assured they were all done by their engineering firm, and I hadn't heard from. Mr. Conley represents the management firm that the Woodside condos, the board he's referring to is the Woodside Condo Board,
Right.
which hires Mr. Conley's firm to manage and do their landscape and other upkeep tasks of the property.
All right, so that's that. What about discussion of the CR? Where are we on that? This is the CR for 237 Dodge Road.
Well, I have, other than getting the final revised document, which I believe I included in the notes to town council and counsel for the applicant, Attorney Jill Mann, went a little back and forth on the subordination agreement, and finally arrived to the point where Irene Del Bono, who works in the State Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, specifically reviewing CRs, weighed in, apparently supporting our town council's opinion about the subordination agreement, and I received a final communication from town council Judith Pickett requesting deletion of a sentence that was in it, and the email that you're holding was the final revised edited subordination agreement sent in by Attorney Mann on behalf of the Country Club folks.
Okay.
I, again, do not know where we stand this evening. There were no further communications. To be honest with you, I have been waiting to hear from the applicant and their counsel because there were a number of tasks they needed to address. They needed to revise and update the baseline report. They needed to edit the plans to identify the potential vernal pools. They needed to include some photographic documentation into the baseline report of the areas where those vernal pools were, so that we would have clear documentation of what the existing conditions were. There were some photo points sort of near, but they didn't focus in, if I can use that term, and clearly show existing conditions around those pools. They also apparently didn't understand about the need to complete affidavits attesting to who took the photographs and that, you know, that they were taken on a certain day and that they clearly represent, you know, the condition of the property, as well as we identified there were some photos that had a lot of ground fog where you couldn't see anything at all, and I believe they were going to retake those. Then there was also the need to, once that was done, to contact me so that we could have a joint meeting out on the property, so on behalf of the commission I could conduct the field inspection that needs to be done to certify and attest on behalf of the commission what the condition of the property is and that the features that are being protected in the CR are in fact you know, worthy of protection and as described in the CR.
In existence.
So there's some field work and some revisions and stuff that I believe were supposed to be accomplished, and at the last meeting we supposedly, I thought, received verbal indications from Attorney Mann that all of that would be done in the next week to week and a half, but here we are at the next meeting though, and unless I'm mistaken, I was waiting to hear from them, unless I had a mistaken impression, but I believe there were tasks they had to do before I could participate and get involved.
So you've had, since last meeting, you basically had no contact from them,
other than being emailed the
subordination
final
thing.
revised subordination agreement and apparently receiving a consensus that the subordination agreement needed to be recorded just before recording of the CR, but they both should be done as close to the same time as possible. And of course, the revision of the plans would be necessary because the plans need to also be recorded so that the CR references those recorded plans, which provide not only the description of the property, but since we requested like labeling of the potential vernal pools, that they would show some of the natural features that were deserving of protection, which was the whole reason for getting involved in the conservation restriction.
Was the final revised subordination executed by the bank? Which was what
I just
council's recommendation was, I guess so.
It's supposed to be, anyway. It hasn't been.
well, I don't know that it's,
The next.
other than it being revised and being amenable to both town council Judith Pickett and to Irene Dobono at EOEA, I don't know that there's been any further steps in terms of recording or sign
Well,
off
they
by
wouldn't-
the bank.
They wouldn't record it because, like you said, they want to record it as close in time to the CR as possible, and the CR is not
Well, but
ready.
apparently it does need to be recorded prior to the CR, but yes, you're right. I think you try to accomplish as close as possible within, if not the same day, within at least days.
If the mortgage isn't recorded before the CR, it doesn't need to be subordinated. So
Right.
that's, you know, logically, it's the only way it would work. But it's not ready for recording because the CR is not ready for recording.
I guess so. I haven't
Well,
heard anything, so.
It kind of has to be because some of that field work is your field work. And you haven't done it.
Well,
You know you haven't done it.
well, but I
You
mean,
know.
but in preparation for the documentation that ends up getting recorded,
Right. It's just not finished.
I just haven't heard, I haven't been apprised as to
Right.
where the status is on this.
Do you have any sense that anybody's coming tonight on this, or that they're not, or you don't know? Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was on track because,
Yeah.
you know, I got that, so I figured they were doing the task, but then,
Right.
you know, that was the last thing.
He says,
Less than 10 minutes.
okay, good.
I mean, I tried to efficiently dispatch my other responsibilities without trying to manage the applicant's
Own
professional consultants.
They'll do their job when they do their job, you don't do their job.
Well, Attorney Mann indicated that there was some restriction on their ability to go ahead and complete other homes, the next 30 after the first 6 until the stuff was handled. So they had strong incentive, I thought, to proceed with this.
All right.
Yeah, so I got the same sense that they wanted to complete it in as timely a manner as possible.
She understood well.
And I don't
She
know what,
listened to understand.
I mean, I don't know what the limitations on the allocation of their resources, but it didn't seem like any of the tasks that needed to be accomplished were necessarily extremely time consuming. But then again, I don't know.
No,
Obviously
it's-
dependent upon, I think, the engineering firm
Right.
whose services they engage.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody's staying home to listen to the president's speech. And go to the Red Sox.
It's probably more likely.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Did I misplace the email that I had handed you about the?
Thought I handed it back to you.
I-
Pretty sure I did.
Okay,
Yep.
then I've got it somewhere.
I shouldn't say that. That's okay.
Oh, I got it. Put it with the picture.
Well, we're waiting on professionals, one kind or another. Do you have any permits or enforcement?
Well, yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much, yes. I was just on you. Commissioner Garner's neighbor.
Oh, okay.
Do you wish to recuse yourself?
Well, there's no action being taken here, so.
No, okay.
Well, actually, there is, because I believe the remedy in this situation will need to be an after-the-fact submittal of a request to determine applicability for permitting for the work that has occurred on the property. Just to, this is, there are two lots side by side. The residence and the occupied dwelling is at 46 Christopher Road. There's a parcel directly abutting it to the west, which is 52. Mr. Vincent D'Amato didn't know about the need for any type of permitting for proximity to wetland resource area. And in 2005, the commission from a prior owner had received a RDA for soil evaluations to take place on 52 Christopher Road. And so we actually had a clearly represented delineation of bordering vegetated wetlands, which start at the outlet of part of the roadway drainage and proceed to connect into forested wetlands, which actually extends behind Commissioner Garner's house and goes for a fairly substantial portion into the woods in that particular area. Mr. D'Amato decided to excavate and create a crushed stone parking area with wooden landscape timbers, as partial retaining wall within 30 feet of the delineated bordering vegetated wetlands. That definitely triggers the need for permitting for, should have been review and approval by the Conservation Commission of this work. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, in the section about minor activities that take place within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, there is an allowance for activities 50 feet or more away from delineated bordering vegetated wetlands. This particular activity, the establishment of a crushed stone parking area, though, is not specifically named, so even if it was 50 feet or more away, it still more than likely should have been permitted by the commission review, because it was an activity that excavated and disturbed soils and may have altered drainage patterns. You know, a couple of things that one would have wanted to possibly put in place. The bare minimum would have been the establishment of erosion control, and also the review to make sure that this wasn't somehow altering drainage patterns.
So did you get a response to the notice?
Yes, he came in and met with me first thing Monday morning, and we talked over. I don't have a clear description. He told me that he measured from the wet area and that he was within 30 feet of it, because I have no clear information on actually where the activity occurred. I just, because of my delivering meeting materials to Commissioner Garner's residence, I, drove by. It was, well, I did this a while ago, and I said, well, I only deliver meeting packets about every 3 weeks to the commissioners, so.
Moral of that story is don't live on the same road as a commissioner. Your
Wow.
place Phil right next to the road.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna do work in a regulated area, it's best not to do it right at the frontage of your lot.
Yes, especially on a.
You don't want to be discovered, but
That's right.
I,
Okay, so what's his plan? Is he going to respond to it?
he's going to submit a request to determine applicability. I told him he had the opportunity. I said, if you have any concerns over what we're talking about now, you have the ability to appear before the commission. If
Yep.
you feel that, you shouldn't be doing that, or why do you have to apply for a permit? He then, of course, asked me the million-dollar question. He goes, well, what if they deny it? And I said, well, that's always an option, and I can't tell you, for sure that this would get approved, but you appear to, from all the information in our files, you definitely appear to have done something that is subject to regulation and does need to be brought before the commission. And so I said I can only comment. We've had some similar projects, and until I actually see the site, I can't tell you if there's any particular continuing issues or concerns. But I said it doesn't look like what you've done is necessarily going to cause any environmental, any detrimental impacts to the nearby wetland resource areas. So, but
If you don't apply.
if you don't apply, you don't get an answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you just remain out of compliance.
And we would eventually have to probably do something about
Yeah.
it, beyond a notice of violation. So, all right, so we'll be looking for his notice.
Request to determine
RDA,
applicability.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went over the application process with him and provided all of the materials that I could to get him started.
Okay, good. All right, now, Mr. Holt having arrived, we're going to return to the 8 o'clock and 8:15 items, which are the stormwater management permit and notice of intent, both for 111 Newburyport Turnpike. Welcome, Mr. Holt. Thanks for rushing over. Got your
I
breath.
apologize for being late.
No, that's all right.
Just got up in North Andover,
Yeah.
but all went well, so quick ride over, no cops.
Yeah, no snowstorms. All right, so tell us about this project.
Okay, this is a commercial property located at 111 Newburyport Turnpike. It's map 14, lot 17, way away. The existing site, it's 1.07 acres, or 46,800 square feet. It's triangular in shape, bounded by a wall to the east, town property to the south, and Route 1 to the west. Currently has an existing single-family house located in this location right here, very close to the right-of-way line and pretty much to the northern part of the property. It's a clearing for yard that was created in the past. It has a septic system and a paved driveway entrance just to the right of the house. The rest of the property is pretty much a wooded lot. And it is in the commercial zone, light industrial zone. So this is a non-conforming use currently. We have shown the setbacks on this property, on this plan sheet, which is existing conditions. There is a Zone 2 watershed district line, Zone 2 line on the property that is about 42,000 square feet of area of the lot is in Zone 2. The entire lot is in the watershed protection district of the town of Raleigh. So we have to apply for special permits for that. And for the Zone 2, notice of intent to your board, as well as the stormwater management permit and erosion control permit, because we're going to be disturbing more than 15,000 square feet of area on the lot. Mr. Hurley, who's the owner of Artistic Landscapes, is the owner of the property, and he's present, would like to build a new commercial building for his landscape and design business. The new building is proposed to be 6,500 square feet, or 100 by 65. And we've located it to conform the zoning, which is required a 50-foot setback to the front property line and 15 feet from the sidelines. So we've positioned the building to conform with that zoning requirement. We're going to utilize the existing access as an enter-only 18-foot wide driveway entrance. Proposing parking for the 10 spots for the commercial use. Going to have 2,000 square feet of office space and 4,500 square feet of storage. 2 garage doors on this side and 1 garage door on that side, so they can pull through traffic, pull through access to the building. We have existing water service, existing electric service that will be utilized to the new building. Proposed gas, we're going to dump through this gas to service to the property. We're going to have that installed. It's on the utilities. Now, when we develop the property, say about 40,000 square foot of the lot will be used, will be disturbed during the construction process. Right now, there's about 9,000 or 10,000 square feet of existing disturbance with the house and the current lawn. So therefore, we come before you for the stormwater and erosion control permit. We designed the drainage to meet the stormwater regulations for Mass DEP and the local bylaw. for the various storms. We're going to be proposing an infiltration system along with detention area that will be located. This one, right away first time. The detention system will be a single catch basin in the parking area that will collect the water from the parking area, go through a grease trap and oil separator in a catch basin, a deep sump catch basin, to remove solids and oils and greases, and that will be directed to a infiltration basin that's in the ground, which is a chamber system with an isolated row. The isolated row basically acts as a underground sedimentation forebay, essentially.
Isolated what? I didn't catch the word.
It's called an isolated row. This dark-colored row is a single row of chambers that are in the ground, and they're actually encompassed by, surrounded by a barrier, which basically traps the water in that first row. And how that works is that the water enters into this manhole, and there's a weir created in the manhole, so it separates the manhole outlets. There's an outlet that goes to this row of this row of chambers, and then a pipe that comes out this side, which goes to the remaining size infiltration units. It's a fairly large chamber system. It's 7 units long, 10 units wide. That was to compensate for the impervious areas and the change in the runoff coefficients from obviously woods and grass to parking lot, basically, and so some grass, the areas that will be maintained. But that will compensate, mitigate the increase in runoff before it is discharged to a pipe to the easterly boundary. Right now, the flow of all the water is from basically southwest to northeast. Basically, all the water from the site flows in this direction here, and it comes down to an off-site wetland over here, and then flows out to Bachelor Brook, goes to Mill River eventually, and then Parker River.
You're solar.
And his baseline, the roof.
Yeah. We did have the roof line itself is going to be a flow from front to back. It's a single slope roof from front to back. And we're going to install a roof runoff filtration system and chamber system on the drip line on the back side of the dwelling, the back side of the building itself. And that will have that will be sized for the roof runoff, for the first inch of runoff off the roof. And then it will have an overflow pipe that goes into the catch basin to treat anything else that happens to come into that system, and into this isolated row infiltration system. When this system builds up, the way this weir works is that the water comes in and it's directed to this line first. When that surcharges, becomes too much water to basically handle in that sedimentation row, it goes over the weir and goes into this pipe here, and it goes into the rest of the infiltration system. And that's designed to infiltrate and recharge the groundwater to the appropriate, well, to the maximum extent possible, and to the minimum requirement by the Mass DEP guidelines, stormwater guidelines. Once this chamber system is maxed out, basically, it becomes too much for it to handle. There's an outlet weir on this end, which is basically just a pipe that's up out of the ground, cut off. The water will flow up out of that into this ponding area, which is a shallow ponding area. It's only about 2.5 feet deep, 67 to 69, 66.8 to 69. So it's a very shallow, be grassed detention area. Tony is proposing some plantings throughout the area around the pond itself and throughout the whole site. And then once the water builds up during the larger storms, in this ponding area, there's an outlet pipe here, which lets the water out of the lesser rate that it comes in and maintains the same discharge rate off the site. The emergency overflow is actually the driveway itself. The driveway itself is at 69, and this area right here will act as the emergency overflow. calculations showed that, I think on a 100-year storm, it just begins to come out of that weir. And you get a half inch of water over the driveway at that rate, at that point. So it's designed to mitigate up to the 100-year storm, all the increase in runoff. And I'll also recharge and treat the groundwater for 80%. Total suspended solid removal.
What's the size of a 100-foot storm in terms of rainfall?
7 inches of rainfall for 24 hours.
24 hours.
Thank you.
And I think we had the 2-year storm, we used 3.2 inches, and the 10 was 4.5, and we also did 25, 5.4. I think that's the number we used. It's in the report, but yeah, due to different various size storms. The 2-year storm is obviously the more frequent storms. Actually, according to data records that I've seen online, typically the Boston weather station that records that 92.8% of all storms are less than an inch of rain. So most of our storms are less than an inch of rain, and 99.2% are less than a 2-year storm. Only the big storms, which are usually the Mother's Day flood, those type of storms are greater than the 2-year storms, typically. Less frequent than people think, actually, from overall standpoint.
Probably the ones you remember.
Yes, they are the ones you remember. Yeah, exactly.
So our only jurisdictional concerns here are stormwater, right? There's no other, and groundwater too.
Stormwater, groundwater
Okay.
protection, stormwater erosion control, as well as the zone 2, which is
Right. There's no other jurisdictional wetland areas.
There's
Those
a
are all
wetland,
off-site.
let's see if I have them on this plan. They're on one of these. Well, I'll show you on this one. Not actually on the site.
Yeah.
There's a wetland somewhere about here.
Right,
This
that's
is
the buffer zone line.
Yeah, and up here, there's a wetland up here, there's a 100-foot buffer to that wetland, and there's wetland on this corner over here, which is actually where there's a culvert across the road right here. And if the wetland, this is actually the wetland that most of this water will flow to before it goes out to that direction. Easterly direction, northeasterly direction. So this is actually the corner of property line, so the buffer zone is actually not on the property in either case.
What's the nature of the town's property to the south of you?
It's actually inadvertently labeled it as the water department, and actually it's the light department's property. It's undeveloped. I believe it's about half an acre property. It's a half acre lot.
It's near the transmission corridor there.
Right.
Is that lower than your property?
It's actually-
About the same?
It's about the same. It's high on this end, and it's low on this end, but it's really the same elevations in this general vicinity. So most of the water flows this way. There's actually a little subdivision on the property line. So,
The reason I was asking is to whether it might make sense to have a roof slanted off to the north and the south rather than one slope heading east, but I'm just going to mention that. I'm not going to push it.
let's see. Drainage issues are the major ones. We do have a complete set of plans, which is for the planning board. Complete set. It has a utility plan, a lighting plan, and a landscaping plan as well. And the last sheet of plans is a detail of that infiltration system, with the isolator row, and the different components of the actual leach area, chamber system is here. Storm Tech is the proprietary manufacturer of the units there. Widely used in drainage, pretty much widely accepted for use. There's different models. There's Cultac, which is another manufacturer. Infiltrated is another manufacturer. It's different. All basically the same idea. They're basically it's a leach chamber. It's plastic though. It's a plastic chamber as opposed to a concrete chamber.
Could you put that board up again? With the side facing out, it's is facing me? No, the other way. Thanks. What's up in the southeast corner there?
This,
Yeah.
this is storage area for the, Tony would like to have some storage for some landscape materials on. I think he's proposed.
Mulch, crushed stone.
Basically the concrete block storage bins. The actual pile of shown is a temporary soil stockpile. We have 3 areas identified as temporary soil stockpiles, which will be protected during construction, as well as a perimeter silt fence.
Is the roadway entirely within your property line, or is the road half on your property line? I mean, the road's to the woods there. Go ahead.
Well, this thing, that's actually off property. It's actually a strip of land that goes, I believe it's owned by the country club.
Yeah.
So the strip of land behind us, this is the old woods road that goes down.
So you're not on the woods road?
No. we
I
have-
thought you made
no,
some mention when you were talking about the hypotenuse about a road there.
Our driveway is, proposed gravel driveway is here and here, which is making it go a loop, one way in, one way out. We have applied to the Mass Highway Department for a permit, which is pending, which I think is imminent.
Thank you.
For our,
Permit's just for the second, and you have one entrance
Correct.
now, if I remember this site right.
Yes.
And you want a second one.
Currently, there's 2 small entrances
Are there?
with about 10 feet of lawn, or 15
Right.
feet of lawn in between the 2.
Oh, okay.
Mass DEP, or Mass DOT, likes 50 feet in between driveways, so.
And 10-foot driveways are too narrow anyway,
Yes,
so,
yes.
yeah, okay.
Has this gone before the planning board yet?
we have gone before the planning board. We are back before them next week, the 18th, and we have a ZBA meeting on the 19th for storage and parking, which is in the setback, which we get permitted for.
So you need variances for parking, which is too far forward?
Yes. Because of the nature of the site,
Yeah.
the shape of the site, triangular.
Right.
And the setback requirements. Really the only place to put the parking was
Yep.
along here, so.
And the variance in the back is for,
For this storage, outdoor storage of
which is a setback requirement, is
Yes,
that
yes,
from their
yeah.
point of view? Okay. And so where, you've been to the planning board, where does their review stand? Are they, they're having technical review?
Yes, they have. Larry Graham,
Yeah.
I believe also that this board is also contracting with, I believe.
Well, not necessarily.
Okay, all right. I know he's doing the review.
He's
for
doing the review,
drainage
yeah.
And the site plan.
Okay, and that's not complete yet, because we haven't seen it.
We have
Normally,
not
we
seen
get
it, no.
a copy on that stuff, so. Brent, what do you have to add? If you had any?
I think we should go over the memos.
Okay.
I think that will clarify some of the questions as well as bring.
But just let me ask, you haven't had any, you haven't talked to planning about the peer review by Larry Graham is not?
I checked to find out that Mr. Graham has not issued anything in writing yet.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
But my understanding is that he is reviewing for compliance with the stormwater bylaw.
Yeah, okay,
The
right,
applicant and the planning board's request.
okay. All right, so, Mr. Holt, you've seen the memos, or?
I have seen them briefly today.
All right. Let's talk about the stormwater management permit one first.
Start with that one first.
Just because that's something first on the agenda. So the specific plan review itemized items all mostly seem to be typos or just misnumbering. I presume none of those would be controversial.
Right, we
Right.
definitely correct all of
So,
Well, actually, turning over to the second page,
Yeah.
I suspended my review and put the ball back in the applicant and their professional staff's court to finish what apparently is an unfinished document.
okay, but those, okay, I see what you're saying.
There may be substantive issues or not, but I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't believe that the commission had an expectation that I would spend my time proving.
Sure. Talk to us a little bit about the first concern raised in the memo, just above that, which is stormwater runoff from Route 1, as sort of a chronic problem.
Yeah.
Brent, maybe you could start by telling us where your concerns lie.
Well, I wanted to just call attention to the fact that, first off, on the plan at this location, which is right here, you've got a gully formed by the contours. I believe that's in response to the fact that there's no curb at that particular location. I think it's a runoff point for drainage when it gets of enough of a quantity and a volume, because in most of this run there's a slanted asphalt curb, but at that particular location that kind of disappears and it's just got some accumulated sediment and some poison ivy. And I think the reason that the contours show that gullying is I think that that's a possible runoff point. The second area of concern is where the existing driveway is for the residents. If you go there right now, you see that there's a very substantial erodible condition there with gullying and tearing of the asphalt of the residential driveway. So I think that's another point where roadway runoff is entering this site in an uncontrolled manner. And I didn't detect anything in the application that addressed that. So I just wanted to call everybody's attention to that. I can't prove that it's a problem. The visual indications where the existing residential driveway is located is that it is a problem based on the erosion. And the third location, going down towards Swainson's Granite, I'm just calling into question the fact that there's a catch basin on the west side of Route 1, but there doesn't seem to be anything on the east side. And that's not normal how a lot of Route 1 is constructed, but I don't have the ability to say one way or the other. I couldn't.
Talking about this catch basin.
Yes,
Here, yeah.
that catch basin over towards where the new ice cream place is. I can't discern whether there is an outlet. I mean, according to these plans, it shows it goes down further, heading towards off the Vine and the Dunkin' Donuts facility. And I know there is a catch basin further down there, which goes and discharges us right on the opposite side of the driveway entrance to Swainson's Granite. It's actually the location of the wetlands that Mr. Holt was alluding to that are along that edge of Route 1. So I'm just pointing out that there probably should be some investigation as to where they're proposing their exit. That they should make sure that there isn't some kind of buried infrastructure there that has to do with roadway drainage. And the other two locations that it would possibly bear in mind that there be some type of design consideration to this site to figure out whether those are points that roadway drainage is entering your site, and if you need to take steps to deal with them. That may involve consultation with Mass DOT. I don't know. It's just, but just based on how the contours are at that one spot and how the existing driveway is eroding away at the other spot, I would say there's definitely, should be some attention paid to that to make sure that that doesn't become an issue with a bunch of water entering your site that you aren't taking into account on how you're designing the facilities right now.
We actually, obviously, Route 1 has a crown, high spot in the middle of the road, essentially, which is shown on the plan. And I have them here in the drainage report. The pre and post development subcatchment basins, subcatchment areas. We did anticipate that the runoff from Route 1 pavement will be coming onto the site as it does do. In fact, I will look into this location right here. I think I know what Brent's talking about. I think you're right, there is a little bit of a swale right there that the contours show that the water would come down. I might have missed the opening in the curve, and I'll take a look at that and maybe address that with, Mass Highway, like you mentioned. You may be able to at least prevent any erosion from happening in that location by addressing that. The location where the driveway is, I think we will address. It's steeper, the driveway's actually steeper right now. If you go out there and try to drive in, then you'll know what we mean, than we want it to be. And we are actually regrading that to be more of a lesser grade, so that it will, we're actually super elevating the driveway to flow into our retention area. So that water will come down, end of the curve exactly, and bring into a driveway, and then we're going to have the water flow into our retention area. The rest of this site, I agree, the water comes off of Route 1 onto, or through our property, essentially, to the applicant's property. The curbing does end right now, currently at the location where we're showing our new exit location. And we have the grades so that the water will come down and flow across our driveway into our pond again. We are proposing paved entries, so that the erosion won't happen, and we're also flattening out the grades so that the slope won't be as great as it is now, which is probably promoting part of that erosion. As far as at the catch basin here, there's definitely a catch basin there, and I've got plans for other properties in Swenson, I've been going this area, that show this drainage going down as Frank describes it, and tying in and going across the street into the wetlands that's over here. Does not show any drainage here, do not observe any drainage structures on our side. I believe the Mass Highway, because the curving ends, just had the runoff flowing onto the adjacent properties as sheet flow, if you will. And maybe it concentrates, and it could be an issue in locations. We'll have to take a little closer look at that maybe as we move on to the next meeting and do some revisions on the plan. But I'll definitely look into that area as well. I don't think there'll be an issue here on this location, because the grades are fairly flat, and I don't think the erosion will be an issue there. I think we'll solve that one. I'll have to look into this one again a little closer and see if we can address that. It definitely, if there's an opening there, it definitely flows down. Any water that's coming off the highway, Route 1, we've accommodated in our design. We know that this water flows this direction, it either comes down the curve and into the property, but if there is an entrance, we'll address that. Also, there is one up here further, which is where there is an opening up here on, I think it's the town property, actually.
Where the transmission lines are.
Yes.
Yeah, I only just wanted to call attention to those issues. My experience in dealing with Mass Highway, or now Mass DOT, is that some of their information is sketchy. So I was just calling attention to the fact that there's a catch basin on one side of the street. Just wanted to make sure that you'd done due diligence, that there wasn't some infrastructure on the other side.
We'll double check, but
because the last time they did, just to let you know, the last time they did the upgrading, because I called their attention to a problem with that basin opposite from Swenson's granite entrance, they relied upon me to give them updated plans for where the wetlands were and where the outlet of their pipe was. So I'm just, I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm just saying that they took over this information from the county, and the county used to be less than diligent in documenting where their outlets were and stuff. So again, I just don't want you digging into something that ends up being a surprise.
All right. So
that was one concern.
Yep. That seems to address the concerns raised in the memo. I mean, obviously, we need to see the technical review before we can proceed.
This is for the stormwater.
For the stormwater.
Yeah, and there may be other issues further on
Oh,
in the swept plan or whatever. I mean,
Yep.
I did make a suggestion about adding the possibility of using a tarp to cover soil stockpiles. I've had other projects where that's been a mechanism that they've used instead of trying to seed and stabilize the stockpile. They've used a tarp. It works just as well, where it's a temporary stockpile. And now if it becomes a permanent stockpile, obviously we don't want to see a tarp on it forever. So, So there is a separate memo that tries to bring up some other things in regards to the notice of intent
Yep.
application.
So let's move on to that memo. Before you arrived, Mr. Holt, your client mentioned that you had a plan for a solution for the emergency shut-off.
Yes, I actually was in the planning board, when Brent briefly reviewed the plans.
Yeah.
And made comments to the planning board. That was brought up. So we did take a look into that. I didn't have a chance to revise the plan before they were submitted to this, but we will look at that. I have a couple of ideas that I've seen used, and one was more for a retention pond. It was the outlet structure, and it had a shear gate which was attached to the actual structure. Shea makes them. I'm not overly thrilled with it myself. I'm not convinced it will actually do the job it's supposed to do. It's basically hand operated. It's just basically
Like a block that drops down.
yeah, you just basically have a handle and you push it up and down depending on when it's open and closed. It's brass. It's manufactured. It appears to be manufactured to hold water, but I'm not sure it will do the trick. My preferred thoughts are to use, instead of using the HDPE ADS plastic pipe, is to actually use a 12-inch ductile iron water pipe, same size, roughly the same characteristics. We'll have to just double check the flow out of it. At least out of the catch basin, where we can install a actual water gate, which would absolutely hold water. So that would be my idea, is to actually install a water gate coming out of it, which can be turned off and on with the mechanism. The applicant would have to buy a valve wrench to do that. I would recommend that they practice using it probably in the fall and in the spring again, to make sure the gate actually operates properly as needed. So that would be my, what I'm looking into is two alternatives, and I would like to be able to approach both the board and the consultant at some point and present that solution for that.
Okay. So question number 2, comment number 2, I think actually you addressed that in your description. Seems that indeed the subsurface infiltrators are beneath the constructed stormwater water basin, right?
Correct. That's actually infiltration basins. One of the Mass DEP alternatives. I mean, typically they have a bottom that's either sand or porous sand or a stone gravelly material. Again, it's 2 feet above the water table at the bottom of it, which infiltrates the water through the bottom of the pond. This is similar. We have stone surrounding the actual units themselves, but to get more volume, which is what we needed to make this work, we wanted to use the chambers, which is basically 100% void space versus 40% with the stone. So it's very similar. It will obviously surcharge. That's designed to actually build up and infiltrate as much as possible. When the higher storms come, it's going to surcharge, and then the water will come out of the unit and into the actual pond itself, and will build up and then flow out over time as the storm gets larger and larger.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, actually, I have further questions based on what Mr. Holt presented so far, just
Yep.
if I may, which
Take one.
still relates to this number 2.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't quite understand this, and explain this to me, because my perception is, from what you said, that water's going to be conducted from the parking lot area, from back here. It's going to follow a route, go to this catch basin, and go to this manhole. Now, in this manhole, you said this first row of isolator chambers perform the function of a sediment forebed. But then you said when this gets charged totally, it then goes over a weir and goes into these other chambers. So based on that, if I'm understanding this correctly, this water that gets into these other chambers then isn't treated at all.
Correct. This is sized to treat the first flush, which is where we know most of the contaminants to be, most of the sediment contaminants to be held. In other words, during the first initial phases of the storm, the first inch of runoff essentially will come down into this manhole and be diverted into this isolated row, which is designed to trap the contaminants, trap the sediments, based on.
So is that handling the whole first 1 inch?
It's handling from the impervious areas into this infiltration isolated row. And then once it surcharges beyond that first inch, it goes into this area. And then that's when it tops over the weir and comes out to the remaining.
But there's nothing then that filters any of that?
Correct. Once it gets to that point where it goes over the weir, it's at that point beyond the first flush of water. So therefore, this gets treated. Obviously, you get the sediment into some.
Well, right, you get some
treatment there,
there,
the
but,
rest
you know, you're looking for substantial to get the 80% though, I'm sure, by this, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so how do you clean that?
That's actually cleaned, and there's a.
Are there going to be ports or something? I mean, how do you want to
There's
get down
inspection
there?
ports at the end, which I should, they're on the
detail sheet?
Yeah,
Okay.
Should be an inspection port on each of the rows at the end, but there's.
Oh, so there's multiple ports.
There's
So
multiple
for
ports.
each entrance to the chambers,
Actually, these typically won't need to be cleaned because this handles the sediment.
yeah, but we just discussed that when this thing surcharges, you're actually possibly going to get deposition of sediment along this end of these chambers because it's going to come in. It's going to overtop.
Yeah, there is
the weir in that
inspection
manner.
ports, but the cleaning of this isolated row, which is what's considered to be the treatment
Right.
of the runoff. There's 12-inch pipe going in that, and you can go in from the manhole, and there's actually a jet that you, basically it goes in and it pushes the water and the sediment back into the catch basin, into the manhole. There's a sump in the manhole, and then you can actually pump it out. of the
Okay, so
manhole.
you,
Basically, yeah.
so you reverse flow to get it back in the manhole
Correct. Yeah.
and then vacuum it out of the manhole.
In the stormwater pollution prevention plan,
Mhm.
the last section is maintenance of this isolated road, and you'll see they actually show the actual jet, they go in there, and it's like water just pushed back and it washes all over. And actually shows the pictures of before and after, how it works.
No, thank you.
That's how that works.
I'll admit, I didn't get that far.
Yeah. But, I did add that so you can take a look at that, I knew you would be concerned on how that is, how it's maintained, so.
So the third comment is the plan needs to depict the locations of the soil evaluation test pits.
Actually, they actually are on the plan, hard to see.
Hard to see, okay.
It's actually this location's here. This is test pit ME1, ME2, ME10, and then we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 are actually up here.
That's not on the project site.
These are not, yes. These are actually.
Well, then what did they, okay, then pardon me. First off, you should indicate that, number one. Because you've got them grouped up here, combined with the current ones that were performed.
Right.
There's absolutely no indication at all. Why are we being given off-site information?
Well, I two reasons. We have testing that we did for the septic system, which we were allowed to do. And when I actually asked initially if we were going to, first of all, there's a house here, so we really can't do it. There's a hole where the house is. So we're going to have to do a test pit prior to our next meeting in this area here to verify. We use the soil results here and the soil results here, and we interpolated the water table in this area. That's how we did it, basically.
That's what it's being used for.
So basically, we have these test pits here, which have elevations associated with them, and elevations on ours, and we use those to come up with that for the initial design. And again, we want to do on-site soil testing, which we're allowed to between now and the next meeting.
I think you would have saved Tony and I some time if you had just
Like
put a
that.
little note on those saying off-site. We were busy trying to find, oh, it must be hidden in some of, in the details in there. I mean,
I will make a note on the revised plan.
so,
That's
all right,
what we need.
okay. Well, that clears up that confusion.
All right. Comment number 4 just requires relabeling of the zone 2 boundary. I think as you said in your presentation, the whole site is
Correct.
water supply pedestrian district, but we need the zone 2 boundary.
Right, it's actually,
Labeled
as
as
this
such.
line, which I mislabeled as the.
Right.
As that.
But it doesn't appear in the legend, and we always require our resource areas to be in the legend as well as depicted appropriately on the plans.
So comment number 5 is regarding outside storage items requiring special handling or treatment for hazardous materials. The concern there in my mind, the initial one would be the ones back in the southeast corner. Now, you had mentioned loam, gravel, what else? Mulch.
Yeah, mulch are sometimes stained.
Yeah. So what's the, how are you going to construct these things? Have you thought about that? They're going to be a impermeable surface, impervious surface at the bottom. It's going to be concrete blocks around the sides.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then my initial thought is that it'd be a crushed stone or gravel base.
Okay.
And I don't expect any of the molds to be dyed or stained otherwise. That will not go over well with.
But you do know they do that.
Yes, and
Oh,
I
okay.
know
So
who
I'm
sells.
not, again, I wasn't.
I know who sells it.
Wasn't
and
casting
we don't-
any aspersions, I
No.
just,
And you don't use it
No, we don't.
because your customers don't care for it. No. Okay. I would not think that the loam or the
crushed stone.
crushed stone and things are going to be any issue. Brad, you're going to have to explain comment 6. I've read
Well,
it a couple of times
there's
and
notes on the plans
Yeah.
about the erosion control, but they don't refer to using the same methodology that actually is in the stormwater pollution prevention plan. So I'm just saying that everything has to kind of work together here. If you're going to say you're going to use straw wattles and filter sock on one document, all the documents need to say you're going to use straw wattles and filter sock, just so they're all in unison instead of any discontinuity.
I think there was a spot where we mentioned T-bills.
Yeah.
Spot there.
Yeah, it's like the first sentence.
Yes. We'll definitely add to that, make sure that it's correct.
And the only other thing I wanted to bring to the commission's attention here is some separate information was provided that I distributed in regards to the use of permeable pavers
Yeah.
on here,
Yeah.
to see whether the commission had any concerns. In this particular instance, we're being given documentation from the research of the utilization of permeable pavers with an engineered subbase in order to achieve treatment of any possible contaminants that come from that surface being used for vehicle traffic or whatever. I wanted to make sure that the commission doesn't have any concerns with that or feels that they were given adequate information, that documents that treatment does occur with this engineered subbase. Because we're charged with preserving and protecting not only quantity of groundwater, but also quality of groundwater, and that can have a potential impact for that, although this isn't being proposed in a high-traffic situation or where we have fleet maintenance activities occurring or things like that.
Right. Well, and considering the alternatives that you could be proposing, it seems like, a practical solution to me, but I hadn't really given it any thought, so.
Well, they're just being used in the parking spaces, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think,
And again, with appropriate engineering of structured layers subsurface underneath this, you get the same type of situation that you get with constructing a septic field, where you get voids, you particularly engineer so there's void spaces, so you get biomat forming within these voids, so that some of the contaminants and particles coming down through the pavers
Right.
achieve some treatment as well as being captured underneath there instead of
Right, instead of just going into
dropping
groundwater.
directly into the groundwater. So,
Yeah.
this is part of Mr. Hurley's business,
Right.
And so wanted to have a demonstration area as well as, you know, this is.
Oh, is that right?
This,
Was that the theory behind it, is you wanted to have it there to demonstrate?
well, it's also a practical application
Yeah.
of a surface that can be used that is permeable.
Right.
But, you know, and
I mean, it could be-
it's kind of good to see a proposal
Yeah.
that's, you know, proposing to not only use this, but showcase this
Right.
in a traffic situation and show that you can, you know, do something like that to accentuate infiltration instead of just creating more impervious surface
Right.
that you need to invest money in a drainage system.
Well, that's what I was saying, is the alternative would be impervious, and that's not a better alternative, other things being equal. So, that's my thoughts. All right, any commissioners have questions, or Brent, anything else you want to add? I think it's gotten through your memo, but obviously, we're awaiting technical review, so did they give you any more sense than they give Brent of when that,
I was hoping to have it by now.
you already have it right now, yeah, well.
So the meeting's next week, I was hoping to at least be able to address when we'll go in and talk to them next
Mhm.
week. Some of the
Yeah,
concerns.
I haven't had I checked with our assistant planner, Katrina O'Leary. She hadn't had any definitive word from Mr. Graham.
Okay.
Could possibly ask Mr. Graham, but I would suspect that we're going to probably see it towards the end of this week. So.
Okay. So do you want to come back on the 1st, or do you want to?
Yeah, so the first would be
Next
good.
2 meetings are the 1st and the 22nd.
Yeah, I think the first would work for
I
us.
think that's realistic.
Yeah.
It's dependent on Mr. Graham and his schedule.
Yeah, I anticipate once we get his report,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the planning board if, you know, hopefully we can talk directly to Mr. Graham to work out any issues.
Yep.
And maybe try to work on the other issues that were appeared that we can try to address at the same
Right,
time.
and, you know, the issues you work on for planning board tend to be the same ones we have, so hopefully it'll all move forward the same way. So we can put you on for the 1st. We can always postpone it if need be, but, all right, anything else anybody wants to add? All right, then I need a motion to continue this to the meeting of October 1st.
Either two separate motions or a combined motion for both stormwater management permit and notice of intent.
How about a combined motion to continue these 2 items, the stormwater management permit and the notice of intent, to the hearing of October 1st?
So moved.
And second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All against? All right, we'll see you then.
Thank you. In the meantime, I'll be working on revising the things that you've brought up here and wait for
Okay.
comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting. Apologize again.
Oh, no, not a problem. Sure, we appreciate you rushing over.
Fortunately, their being tardy caused us to be a little bit tardy with
For you, yeah.
Attorney Mann's. We apologize.
Well,
That's okay, I understand.
we'll take you now. Yeah, he had 2 meetings to go through, so he was a little late
Oh,
for
let me
this
tell you,
one.
I drove like a bat out of hell from Middleton, Wisconsin, meeting here.
Oh, well, that's too bad, because you could have taken your time.
Yeah.
Or you guys took a carpool since he was coming from North Andover.
Was he really?
Yes, you
Oh,
are.
that's too funny.
That's not to say that's where he's going back to, though. So,
Oh, yeah.
I presume he's done for the evening. He didn't say he was going to a 3rd meeting.
Oh, man, at this late night, hope not for the sick.
Okay. So, you were here 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
I was not, so I'm
Right.
going to defer to people who were here to,
Sure.
and you, to bring us up to date on what was said last time and what you have new for us today.
Absolutely. So the last time we were here, there were some outstanding comments that Mr. Bazak had wanted us to attend to, namely identifying the potential vernal pools, which we did on a plan, including in our package the soil map, which we did, amending the baseline photographs to include, remember some of the pictures just were a little, they had fog in them, so to take new pictures, we did that. To take pictures from the various vernal pools, we did that and we included it. To update the subordination agreement and get sign off from your legal counsel, Judy Pickett, we did that. To update and provide a GIS map, we did that. and to then provide the latitude and longitude for all of the shots taken for the photos, and we did that. To include in the baseline report a certification by the engineer that in fact, he testified basically to the veracity of the pictures and that he actually was the person who took them and that they were accurate and they had not been photoshopped. He did that, and that was provided in the report. And then I had emailed it over, and then I have a copy for you.
I haven't gotten any, I didn't get anything
Oh,
about
I
any of
emailed
this.
everything to you. And I actually.
Never got it.
No, because I did in 3 parts and did it to Katrina too. Like, because I emailed you and said, if you don't, did you not get my email that said I'm gonna do it in 3 parts? If you don't get them all, tell me. Because I was afraid that
They're too
it was
big.
too much.
Yeah, yeah.
So I emailed you.
I'll have to go back. That was right during a period of time we had some issues with excessive
That's right.
spam
Worse than
as
problems
well
with the
as,
servers here.
as some.
Oh, see, I assumed you got it because you never said you didn't to my email that said, I'm gonna send it in 3 parts. If you don't get all 3,
Well,
tell me.
again, let me check. We were having various things
Okay.
occur.
Because then we had also communicated with,
Okay.
because I had sent everything to everyone, and we were communicating about what the process would be.
And I got that,
Right.
and I got the final revision to the subordination.
Subordination, we
Right,
did get
and-
that.
yeah. And that was the same exact time.
Okay.
So that's
Then
the,
I possibly do have it.
yeah, I think you,
All
but
right.
that's the.
Well, anyway, this is what you just handed us is the same thing in actual hard
Well,
copy.
right, which we need
anyway,
a hard
sure,
copy of
yeah.
anyway.
But-
So this is good, this puts us on track to now start doing field work.
Oh, I assumed you'd gone out because you asked me to send you that field work thing too, and I had, but I understand. I mean, I have to tell you that the importance of this can't be underestimated or stressed because we're only allowed 6 permits. We have purchase and sales for 20. And the EEOA will take forever, as evidenced by the fact it took them 7 months to give me comments. So I'm a little bit concerned that the process is going to be prolonged at
Mhm.
this level.
Well, I can't enter onto your, because there's no formal application.
Oh, there is, I submitted that when you were allowed to submit your formal application at the time of submission of the draft, which was done back in
Well,
January.
what I was going to finish saying was that, unless I'm incorrect,
Mhm.
there's no written permission for me to enter onto the property unaccompanied.
You always have permission once we come before you as a town member. You're obviously entitled, and
Well,
you may.
You've just been given permission.
No,
Okay.
when you file your initial application, which you do,
Yeah.
when you go forward, you grant permission. And we had filed that back in January. So you do have
CR?
permission. Hmm?
The CR?
Oh, yeah, when you actually give the draft to Irene, you have to give her that application. And you got a copy of the application, this is it.
Well, right.
And that's, you have to submit and deliver at the time. And the reason why you do that is because what it says is these forms that you have to sign in municipal certification and the field inspection, they aren't necessarily submitted at the time of application, but can be submitted at the time of execution and delivery. And the reason they do that is because of that they recognize that they're a little bit tardy most times, and that the boards are actually more proactive and quicker than the state government agencies.
Yeah.
So, I guess we're here tonight because I was hoping we were going to get the municipal certification and to be able to begin the process of submitting and going before the selectmen with your recommendation to them that you're recommending the CR.
Right, obviously the fact that we didn't know we had gotten or else we didn't get.
Well,
these-
it's an active golf course. I would never, ever just start walking on an active golf course without being
No, no.
accompanied by
Well, I
someone.
understand.
Yeah.
So, in any event, yeah, we'll move forward as quickly as we can. We've got that now. When you say you need to be accompanied, who do you need to be accompanied by from your perspective? There's people at that site, lots of people at that site, it seems like.
Oh, there's. Oh.
Right, but they have a lease. The operator of the golf course is not
Well, that's what I'm saying. is
who's in front of us tonight.
The fact there's
so-
lots of people at the site isn't necessarily a good thing, because you're not going to be able to identify the right person unless you tell us who.
Oh, just call me and
Yeah.
somebody will come to me. Doesn't,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
we've been absolutely willing to do whatever it would take.
okay. What are you frowning at, Brent?
Are you looking for the application?
I'm looking for the field inspection.
Yeah, that doesn't, that's
So
just the CR, no, that was, you actually asked me for it and I emailed it to you separately.
I've got that separate.
Yeah,
So-
but I have copies of them.
So whenever we want to go out there, I'm ready.
Now, with regard to the municipal certification, I don't know what the process is for you or what, you've done CRs before, right?
Yep.
So I don't know what your process is. I'm just, honestly, I'm unbelievably concerned now that I've missed the September meeting. I had no idea. So this is gonna cause me unbelievable delay. Because now, if you don't certify to the selectmen tonight, I'm not gonna be before them in October.
Let's find the document and see
This?
what it says.
Do you want it? Here, it's just easier.
It's in-
Yeah, there it is. I double-side, attempt to make things a little more. You do too?
Yeah. Save a tree, right?
Oh, you try. In my job, it's not easy.
Does this course have public access?
It does, along the cart path.
I mean, to play golf.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody in town approached me about a week and a half ago and was upset because he said that's a private course.
No, it is not. It's a public course. Anybody can
Well, it's a
play.
private course open to the public. I mean, it's not publicly owned. The town of Raleigh doesn't own it. But
Right, but like
Yeah.
Ferncroft Country Club, I
Right.
couldn't walk out on.
No, you need to be a member or with a
Yeah.
member, right?
But this is, any
No.
person can
It's
go.
like Newbury Country Club or something
Yeah.
open to the public.
Yeah, like Sagamore, a whole bunch of them, right? But it is, I'm curious as to why you thought it was closed or private.
Well, it was posed to me in the context of putting a municipal golf course on the Girl Scout camp.
Oh, okay,
Oh, yeah.
town owned. That's a messy
Yeah, well,
business.
the Girl Scout camp is a big parcel here that's
Oh.
just become a very big parcel that's just become available for development. And so there's a lot of talk
Oh,
in
they
town
sold
about
it?
Well, they haven't, but it's for sale. And it's, how many acres is it? Like 200 acres?
200.
It's a giant parcel,
And they want to.
much of it upland.
They want to
So,
sell it to the town.
Yeah, they would like to keep it in
Oh,
some kind of
wonderful for you.
conserved
Put your
state.
development hat away.
Yeah, yeah. No, listen, I understand. We in town, in my town, don't want 200 acres going on the market for a development either.
No, and we've had our eye on this forever because it's obvious one of these days it's going to happen. It's a Girl Scout camp that's been there since the 50s and it's not that active, so.
In my opinion, if the commission wishes to vote to sign municipal certification this evening, you can do that. We have substantial documentation as well as the fact that we issued an ORAD for this property that verifies all the testing as well as having completed the review of the CR document and having that basically approved by town council.
And then with that-
And then it would just be up to me to do the field.
Do you want to go with Richie or one of the engineers? Is that better?
Well, it's just whatever that, either I don't get knocked out by golf balls or don't get accosted by a bunch of people that
Oh,
really
my
want to
God.
get to the 19th hole really bad. Don't want an agent in their way.
Brent's afraid of that angry golfer. No, but you know what, maybe it wouldn't be
They've
bad.
got clubs.
Yeah.
Always respect people with clubs.
I don't just, but what I'll do is if you call me anytime tomorrow and you tell me what your schedule is, I'll make sure, because you might want a golf cart to do it all too. No?
I walk.
Because you could do it with Ralph. I think probably the best thing would be with Ralph and Rich, because Ralph can stop play on a course, Rich would not. You're on a hole.
Then, how about this?
Yeah.
Just to show how accommodating I am.
No.
Why don't you tentatively set it up to occur between 1 and 3 p.m. See if that is
What day?
tomorrow.
You got it. 1 to 3, you're in. Do you want them to meet you at the course?
Well, just have someone call me to tell me what time so I can
Okay.
either seek
How-
nourishment or be there on time.
I have a ridiculous question probably. How long do you think it'll take you?
I would allow an hour.
Okay, oh, that's it? Okay, I was gonna type more.
We know this site pretty well.
Do you?
It's been in front of us numerous times, not just on this CR, but, you know,
Okay.
previous developer, or the previous
Oh, that's right,
development scheme.
Windover, right?
Right, yeah, we did a lot of work on this site at various times, so it's pretty familiar.
I'll call you first thing in the morning, though, and confirm a time between 1 and 3.
I
Thank
think
you
Brent
very
knows
much, I
pretty much
appreciate it.
exactly what he wants to look at and where it is on the site.
But I very much appreciate you making, you know,
Yeah.
your time available tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with signing that. I think
That'd
that's-
be beautiful, I
Yeah,
really
I can tell that
appreciate
would
it.
make you very happy.
Yes. You can only imagine every day get, oh, you know.
I know.
But no, that'd be wonderful, because that allows us to then go to your selectmen.
Right, no, exactly, that is what the process is. But you can't approach the selectmen without the certification. Correct. All right,
And then what we would do is present it to them.
Well, we also need to sign.
They need to sign a
We need to
CR.
sign for the CR.
yeah, oh, I know, but you can't take the next step without this thing.
No.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you need to sign the CR actually too, Brent, too.
And it's a question of recording the subordination.
I record the subordination prior to the CR, but immediately prior there too? Because I think it was.
Yeah,
this one-
again, you know, we've got that. I got the emails.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was a concern, you know, Judy was concerned that I wouldn't, you know, I could potentially delay recording the CR. I'm like, oh dear Lord, I can assure you of one thing, that's my priority.
No, they actually had a bunch of war stories that
Yeah, they
ended up-
did.
They
They
ended up
did.
trading it.
It was
Actually, it
It would not be- it would not
morphed
be-
beyond what we were doing to what other people have done in the infinite statistical combinations and permutations that have made it confusing as well
I
as
don't know
then.
if you want them to sign that one too. Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Then the culpability of registries that don't particularly attribute things or keep them in the same sequential pages too. So,
Well, I don't think that would be our registry, I've never seen them do that.
no.
They don't
those are
screw up,
ours,
but
it's-
lawyers
as you
screw up
start
all the
moving
time
to the
and
central-
fail to record stuff.
Let me tell you, mortgages, discharges, wrong descriptions, yes. But luckily, I have to, or, you know, as a means of protection, when the board actually drafted its decision, the requirement is I'm only entitled to
I think we need a.
six
we need a motion.
occupancy
Right.
permits, and then I have to demonstrate recording of the CR, acceptance recording, before they'll give me the 7.
It's the planning board.
Yep.
All right, so we need 2 votes, I think. One is to
Sign.
approve and sign the municipal certification to the selectmen that the proposed conservation restriction is in the public interest. And well, let's do it in 2 votes.
Yes.
So is there a motion
So
to so
moved.
do, and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all against? It's, I think more even than the other applicants tonight, Attorney Mann is glad that we managed to come up with a quorum, because it's a little dicey here.
Oh, really?
Doesn't happen to us very often, but we're down 1 member. 1 member is ill, and 1 member was late, and that's as low as we can go, so.
It's scary sometimes, I know.
And boards that regularly fail to achieve quorums really just, you can't do that to people. That's the
I
way
had one
look at
time,
it.
I'm not gonna mention the town, 4 hearings in a row.
Or failed to achieve a quorum, which, was it conservation?
No, planning, 4 in a row. Could you even imagine? That's catastrophic.
Well, that's even worse, because planning is by definition about development. These are people with deadlines.
4 in a row.
Yeah, these are lenders.
I mean, and I have to tell you, the board members were you couldn't even become angry. They were so gracious. Remarkably gracious. They're like, you're so, and it was a horrible set of events. Like, somebody was sick, somebody's daughter, it was all
With all
valid. It
legitimate
wasn't
excuses,
like, you know, disregard. It was legitimate. It just,
Was it a 7-member board?
nope.
Yeah, That is part of the problem. We were just talking about that. That 7 sometimes seems like a lot for a board like this, but it allows you to have a quorum.
The best is when you do the reserve members, or what, not reserve, what are they called?
Associate
Thank you
members.
so much. Associate members,
Right.
or, yeah, that is beautiful, because then you don't have the increased quorum requirement, but you always have those extra members who can fill
Yeah.
in when you want. I love it when people have that in their charter.
Well, we can't even find a replacement for our missing member, at least at the moment, so.
You have issues with, we have issues with that in my town, too.
Yeah.
I've been on the finance committee for 19 years. You think I could find a replacement?
What town is that?
Middleton.
So now, a motion
Okay, so
for
now I need a
acceptance
motion
and signing the CR.
to accept and sign certification of our acceptance of the conservation restriction pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8C, and to be bound by its terms. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Let's see, we're gonna need to, Judy Keys is the one member who's not here, so
Doesn't matter, it's
we'll just
okay.
skip it?
Mhm.
Yes.
Not cross it out, that's what
Yeah,
I would
we
No, you
usually
just
cross
leave it
it out, we
blank.
just leave
You
it
don't want
blank.
crossed out things.
No. Are you ready for tomorrow? 92 degrees?
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you been outside in the last hour? Well, you haven't.
No, I haven't.
I hadn't gone out since 8 o'clock this morning. I walked out for the meeting at 7:30
Yeah.
and was stunned.
Hot.
Hot.
Yeah, it was getting hot.
You could sign in the blank space. I'm going to be filling that line out for my notarizing the CR.
Just me?
Just you. Yep. You'll need one signature.
You're good, Brent. You keep the book.
He
Good.
does, huh?
You have to by law. You're supposed to, except for attorneys. We're the only ones exempt from the
No.
book.
I'm an attorney, I don't.
You don't have to do the book.
I don't, and I don't. I should.
No, you don't have to.
I know I don't have to, but I should anyway, because
Oh.
it's just a good practice, but I don't.
I don't even, could you imagine the size of the book?
And it'd get big, and I'd have to carry it around to courthouses, because that's what I do, and that would be a pain in the neck, and I'd forget. and
Yeah, I would as well.
Then I'd have a book that had some but not all, which I think would be worse.
Mhm.
So, yeah, no, I don't.
I don't.
My wife wonders why my briefcase weighs so much. Half of it's the doggone book that I'm carrying all the time.
You're a notary as well? Oh, yeah.
I don't carry my seal either.
You know what?
No.
And half the time I
But you don't
forget to
need-
stamp things, and the only registry that bounces back on you is Middlesex South. Everybody else is lucky, as long as you have your, your date
Your
of
date of
commission.
commission,
you're-
yeah.
Yeah.
Middlesex South does that.
Oh.
Just to be a pain.
Do you practice there? in the-
Not very little.
Ah,
Try to stay out of Middlesex.
yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, the registry of deeds is, the only thing worse than the registry of deeds is the probate court, which is the worst thing in the world.
Oh, horrible.
It's just terrible.
Although since the new registrar took over, they were supposed to be, a friendlier, kinder registry. I've yet to see
You
it.
haven't noticed, huh?
I get the calls all the time, this is wrong, you can't record this. Like, I can't.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
get,
so much.
well, the few times I've dealt with them, you get the papers there at 3 and they don't get recorded because the
Oh.
line's too long and they just shut it down. It's like,
Well, because they have lunchtime.
Sounds like our post office.
oh, it's-
Yeah.
Honestly,
Really?
like the DMV, it isn't worse than the post
like the
office.
registry
It's the
used to be.
DMV when we were younger.
That's
Like
right.
now, it's not as bad because you had that
It's
card
much
thing.
better.
Remember when we were young and you'd sit in that row and wait?
Yeah, it used to be
I think
infamous
these
as a
came from
bureaucracy,
Middlesex.
and it's much better now, but the registry of deeds in Middlesex anyway is still like that.
Oh, that's mine too, I think. Yeah.
Is that
Oh,
yours too?
Haven
Yeah.
of patronage.
that was the one I just,
Okay.
the top part of that.
All right, well, I've got my copies of the sign.
Okay, so
Okay.
now,
So-
Good, you're gonna,
If you make the request to the Board of Selectmen,
Mhm.
and then I'll do the field visit and complete signing off the field inspection for
Perfect.
tomorrow, as well as look at the base. What I'm doing is checking also
Yeah, going
in the
through it.
baseline stuff and look and being actually on the site so that I
Of
can
course.
sign that document with, you know, due diligence that I'm actually
No,
on the
most
site.
certainly, I
and looking at
respect that.
things and stuff, so.
Absolutely.
So we'll get that stuff, and then once I know when you're coming before the selectmen, I will obviously make myself available to be there.
That's perfect. Perfect. I appreciate that very much.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you once again.
very
Enjoy
welcome.
tomorrow's heat wave.
Guess so.
One day.
Oh, I was hoping for a little bit longer, but it is supposed to just be tomorrow, but no.
All right, thank you.
Take care, have a good evening.
Good night. Bye.
Thanks, Brian, I'll talk to you in the morning.
Yeah, I guess, well, this puts this in a little quandary too, because I don't have
Request to continue, but
requests to continue from.
We can continue on our own.
we can, and I wouldn't want to shoot it down that way, but.
Well, no, I'm just.
Yeah. I guess that's what he wants,
I mean, it's-
for lack
I
of.
was supposed to get a submittal yesterday, so I don't know, maybe some, but.
Yeah, but what
then
you
he
got,
emailed me.
you
so-
got yesterday was a request for.
Email for
the right form.
copies of what he's supposed to be putting
Right,
together.
yeah, so-
So I hope he doesn't copy the other person's stuff.
Anyway, did you send him
I didn't
something?
say
Did you
that.
find something?
Well, yes, I did. Well, we're looking at Meridian's
Yeah. Today.
stormwater report for
Today.
Mr. Patrickin's Ipswich Bay Glass, so I just copied that and said, okay, this is what one looks like. And oh, by the way, you might want to do a construction period erosion control plan too.
All right, well then let's, I suggest that we consider a
to the
motion
next
to
meeting.
continue the, let's see.
Land off Daniels Road.
The notice of intent for Land off Daniels Road, Tompkins Desjardins Trust, that we continue that to October, the meeting of October 1st. Do I have that motion? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? So be it. Brings us to the end of our agenda.
Great.
Okay. Anything else? We already did enforcement. So,
Yeah,
we're
good.
good. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Who, me?
You twisted my arm just by looking at me, so.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.